My wife excused her male best friend's rude jokes, saying, "That's just his British sense of humor." I said, "Ah, I see." So I accidentally included her friend's wife in a group chat sharing his hilarious jokes about her. Now he's explaining his humor to a divorce lawyer. My wife demanded a divorce in the house. "You can't afford a lawyer to fight me." I replied, "You're right." She served me papers in court only to see the city's most feared, expensive divorce attorney sit down next to me. He looked at her and said, "He doesn't have to afford me. I'm his older brother." My wife, Evelyn, informed me last Tuesday that she wanted a divorce. There was no sadness in her eyes, no regret in her voice. It was a declaration of victory. We were sitting in the living room of the house we had spent 8 years turning into a home, and she was speaking to me with the detached finality of a corporate executioner. "It's over, Tom," she said, placing a file folder on the coffee table. "I've already spoken to a lawyer. These are my terms." I didn't open the folder. I didn't have to. She was more than happy to list her demands. She wanted the house that my grandfather had helped me put a down payment on. She wanted 70% of our shared savings. She wanted spousal support for a minimum of 5 years. It wasn't a negotiation. It was an unconditional surrender. When she was finished, she leaned back, a smug, confident smirk on her face. "And I don't want to fight on this, Tom," she said, her voice dripping with condescending pity. "Let's be realistic. You're a high school woodshop teacher. You make a decent living, but you can't afford a real lawyer. My guy will bury you in legal fees before you even see the inside of a courtroom. It's better for you to just agree to the terms and walk away." I just sat there looking at this woman I had loved, this woman I had built a life with, and I felt a profound sense of coldness settle over me. She didn't just want to leave me, she wanted to ruin me. She saw me as weak, as an obstacle to be crushed and discarded. Her biggest weapon, she thought, was my inability to fight back. I let the silence hang in the air for a long moment. Then I looked at her, my face a mask of resignation, and I said the 2 words she was expecting to hear. "You're right." The relief on her face was immediate. She had won. The humble, simple teacher wasn't going to put up a fight. She stood up, smoothed her skirt, and said, "Good. I'm glad you're being sensible about this. You'll be served with the official papers next week." Then she walked out of the room. Here's what Evelyn knew. She knew I was a man of simple means. She knew I didn't have tens of thousands of dollars to throw at a legal battle. She also knew that I had a brother, an older brother named Marcus. What she also knew, and what she was banking on, was that Marcus and I hadn't spoken in 5 years. Marcus isn't a teacher. Marcus is a shark. He is, without exaggeration, the most feared and expensive divorce attorney in the state. He's a legal predator whose name makes other lawyers nervous. And he was, for all intents and purposes, no longer a part of my life. We had a falling out after our parents died. It was over the family home, the house we grew up in. I wanted to keep it, to preserve it as a memory, a place for our families together. I'm sentimental like that. Marcus, ever the pragmatist, saw it as an illiquid asset. He wanted to sell it, divide the money, and move on. We had a bitter, terrible argument that ended with us on opposite sides of a canyon of stubborn pride. We hadn't spoken since. Evelyn had witnessed the tail end of that fallout. She saw me as completely and permanently isolated from the only powerful person in my family. In her strategic calculation, my greatest potential asset was a dead one. She was wrong. For 3 days after her announcement, I was in a dark place. She was right about one thing. I couldn't afford to fight her, not on her terms. The thought of losing my home, my savings, everything I had worked for was suffocating. On the 4th day, I hit rock bottom. And from there was nowhere to go but up. I swallowed every ounce of my pride, a pride that had cost me my brother for 5 years, and I found his private cell phone number. My hand was shaking as I dialed. I expected it to go to voicemail or to be answered by a sharp-voiced assistant. But after 2 rings, a familiar deep voice answered. "Hello." "Marcus," I said, my own voice sounding weak and foreign to my ears. "It's Tom." There was a long pause. For a moment, I thought he was going to hang up. "Tommy," he finally said, the old nickname sounding strange after so many years. "What's wrong?" And it all came pouring out. I told him everything. I told him about Evelyn's demands, her lawyer, her coldness, and I told him her final arrogant taunt. "You can't afford a lawyer to fight me." Another long, heavy silence stretched between us. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. The surprise was gone, replaced by something I hadn't heard in years. It was the sound of a protective older brother. It was the sound of steel. "She said what?" he asked, his voice dangerously quiet. I repeated her words. "Okay," he said. "When and where is the first court appearance?" "Next Tuesday at the downtown courthouse," I told him. "I'll clear my schedule," he said. "Don't talk to her, don't talk to her lawyer, don't sign anything, just show up on Tuesday. I'll meet you there." We hung up. I sat there, my heart pounding with a mixture of terror and a terrifying hope. Evelyn thought she had disarmed me. She had no idea she had just handed me a nuclear weapon. She was about to learn a very hard lesson about what family really means.